Hi everyone! Welcome back to English Fab, where learning English is practical, useful, and fab. Relationships are an important part of life, but talking about them in English can sometimes be challenging. You might not know how to describe your family relationships, friendships, or workplace connections. Maybe you struggle with expressing feelings in romantic relationships, or talking about dating and breakups. Understanding the right words and phrases will help you communicate clearly and naturally in different relationship situations. In today's lesson, we'll go through real-life conversations about relationships. You'll learn key phrases, useful vocabulary, and practical tips to help you talk about family, friendships, dating, workplace relationships, online connections, and even self-relationships. This video includes content related to relationships and social interactions that we've uploaded so far. Be sure to check each video and our website for further details. If you find English difficult, don't worry. You can translate the subtitles into English and your own language like this. Check the description below for extra details. Are you ready to improve your English for talking about relationships? Let's get started! It's been so long since we last caught up, Daniel. How have you been?
I've been good. Work has been keeping me busy, but I've been making more time to visit my family. What about you?
Same here. I just spent the weekend at my grandparents' house. It was so nice to see them.
That's great. I try to visit my grandparents too, but they live pretty far away. Do you get to see them often?
I do. My grandmother loves cooking, so every time I visit, she makes all my favorite dishes. And my grandfather tells the best stories about when he was young.
That sounds amazing. I wish I could see mine more often. We mostly talk on video calls, but it's not the same as visiting in person.
That's true, but staying connected is what matters most. How's the rest of your family?
Everyone's doing well. My sister just had a baby, so I'm officially an uncle now.
Congratulations! That's so exciting. Do you get to see your niece often?
Not as often as I'd like, but whenever I visit, I try to help out. My sister is still adjusting to being a new mom, so I babysit whenever she needs a break.
That's really sweet of you. I have a nephew and he's full of energy. The moment I walk in, he wants to play.
Kids are great like that. My cousin's son is the same. He never runs out of energy. Speaking of cousins, I met up with a few of mine last month. We hadn't seen each other in years.
That must have been fun. I have a cousin who's like a best friend to me. We grew up together, so we're really close.
I love that. Family bonds are so important. Oh, how's your brother? I remember you saying he was moving for college.
He's doing great. He moved last year, but we still keep in touch. It's weird not having him around the house, though.
I bet. My younger brother still lives at home, but is always out with his friends. I barely see him these days.
Sounds like a typical sibling. What about your parents?
They're doing well. My mom is planning a big family gathering for the holidays, so I'm really looking forward to that.
That sounds wonderful. Family get-togethers are the best. My aunt and uncle always host a barbecue when everyone visits.
That's a great tradition. I love how every family has its own way of celebrating.
Me too. Family relationships really shape who we are, don't they?
Absolutely. No matter how busy life gets, it's important to cherish those connections.
Couldn't agree more. Hey, let's take a picture. I want to send it to my grandma. She always asks how I'm doing.
Great idea. And let's make sure we keep making time for family, no matter how busy we get.
Definitely.
It's so nice to finally catch up, Jason. I feel like we haven't had a proper conversation in weeks.
I know, right? Life has been so busy, but I always make time for my close friends. So, how have you been?
Pretty good. I was actually talking to my childhood friend the other day. We grew up together, and even though we don't see each other often, we still have that strong connection.
That's awesome. I have a long-distance friend who moved abroad a few years ago, but we still talk all the time. Video calls really help us stay connected.
That's great. I think true friendship isn't about distance, it's about effort. Oh, speaking of friends, I recently reconnected with an old school friend at a reunion. It was so nostalgic talking about our school days.
I love that. Some of my best memories are from school. I'm still really close to my best friend from high school. We don't see each other as much, but whenever we do, it's like no time has passed.
That's the best kind of friendship. I have a work friend who I see almost every day. We have lunch together and help each other out at work, but we don't really hang out outside of the office.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I also have acquaintances, people I see at events or gatherings, but don't talk to regularly. They're friendly, but we're not really close.
Same here. And then there are online friends, people you've never met in person but talk to a lot. I have a few from social media and gaming.
Oh, me too. I have an online friend I met through a hobby group, and we've been chatting for years. It's interesting how friendships can form in so many different ways.
Exactly. Every friendship is unique, whether it's with a best friend, a close friend, or even someone you just enjoy talking to occasionally.
Absolutely. What matters most is the connection and how you support each other.
Couldn't agree more. By the way, let's plan something fun soon. I miss our group hangouts.
Yes, let's do it. I'll message everyone and set up a time.
Perfect. Looking forward to it.
So, Rachel, I heard the big news. Congratulations on your engagement. How does it feel to be a fiancé?
Thanks, David. It still feels surreal, to be honest. My fiancé proposed last weekend, and I'm still processing everything.
That's amazing. How did he propose?
He planned a beautiful dinner by the beach and surprised me with the ring. It was so romantic.
That sounds perfect. You two have been together for a long time, right?
Yeah, almost 5 years. We started dating in college, and he's truly my best friend and soulmate.
That's really special. Finding someone who feels like a soulmate is rare. My partner and I have been together for about 2 years now, and I feel lucky to have them.
That's great. What do you think makes a strong relationship?
I'd say trust and communication. My partner and I always talk about everything, which helps us stay connected. What about you?
I completely agree. Honesty and support are also really important. My fiancé is always there for me no matter what.
That's how it should be. Have you started planning the wedding yet?
Not yet. We're still enjoying the engagement phase, but we'll probably start planning soon.
That makes sense. My brother and his wife got married last year, and they said wedding planning was both exciting and stressful.
I can imagine. But at the end of the day, what matters is celebrating with loved ones.
Exactly. Whether you're married, engaged, or just dating, a strong relationship is about mutual respect and love.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Speaking of relationships, how's your family doing?
They're great. My parents just celebrated their 30th wedding anniversary. They're such a good example of a lasting and happy marriage.
Wow, 30 years. That's incredible. I hope my fiancé and I can have that kind of relationship.
I'm sure you will. You two already have such a strong bond.
Thanks, David. Relationships take effort, but when you're with the right person, it's all worth it.
Absolutely. Now, let's toast to your engagement. Cheers to love and happiness.
Cheers!
Hey Ryan, how's your day going?
Hey Emma, pretty good, but I've got a lot on my plate. My manager just assigned me a new project, and I'm working closely with a few colleagues to get it done.
That sounds great. It's always helpful to collaborate with teammates. Do you get along well with your colleagues?
Yeah, I do. Everyone is really supportive. One of my colleagues has been helping me understand some of the more complex parts of the project. How about you?
I have a great team too. My supervisor is really encouraging, and I've learned so much from her. She always gives constructive feedback, which really helps.
That's awesome. A good supervisor makes a huge difference. My manager is great too, very approachable and open to new ideas.
That's important. I've also been lucky to have a mentor here. She's been in the industry for years and gives me great career advice.
That's really valuable. Having a mentor can really shape your career. I had a mentor at my last job, and he gave me a lot of insight into leadership skills.
That's great. I think every company should encourage mentorship programs. Even interns benefit from them.
Totally. Speaking of interns, have you worked with any lately?
Yes! There's a new intern in my department. She's eager to learn, and I've been showing her some of the basics.
That's nice of you. It's always great when interns feel welcomed and supported. I remember being a nervous intern myself a few years ago.
Me too. It can be overwhelming at first, but having a supportive team makes all the difference.
Absolutely. Oh, by the way, have you ever worked directly with our employer?
A few times. He's really hands-on and likes to stay involved in key projects. He appreciates when employees take initiative.
That's good to hear. It's motivating when an employer values their team.
Definitely. I think building good workplace relationships with colleagues, supervisors, and mentors makes a huge difference in job satisfaction.
Couldn't agree more. A positive work environment really helps everyone grow and succeed.
Exactly. Speaking of work, we should probably head back before our break is over.
Good idea. Let's catch up again soon.
Jake, it's great to finally catch up. How's everything going with your company?
Hey, Emma. Things are going well, but managing business relationships is always a challenge. We've been focusing a lot on strengthening connections with our clients and business partners.
That's so important. Clients are the backbone of any business. Are you working with any new customers lately?
Yes, we just signed a contract with a new client. They're expanding their business and need software solutions, so we're handling their IT setup.
That's exciting. A good relationship with clients can lead to long-term partnerships. What about suppliers? Have you had any issues?
Thankfully, no major problems. We recently switched to a new supplier for raw materials. They're reliable and their pricing is more competitive.
That's great to hear. Finding a good supplier can make or break a business. I had to renegotiate contracts with one of our vendors last month. It was tricky, but we worked out a deal that benefits both sides.
Negotiating vendor contracts is always a challenge, but it's all about balance. Speaking of partnerships, have you collaborated with any freelancers recently?
Yes! We hired a freelance designer to refresh our branding. Their work has been fantastic, and we're thinking of offering them more projects.
That's a great idea. Freelancers can bring fresh ideas, and they're flexible with projects. Oh, by the way, have you been in touch with any new investors?
Yes! We recently met with a few potential investors who are interested in funding our next expansion. It's still in the early stages, but we're hopeful.
That sounds promising. Keeping investors and stakeholders informed is key to building trust.
Exactly. We send out regular updates to keep our stakeholders engaged. We also hold quarterly meetings with our shareholders to discuss growth and future plans.
Smart move. Transparency builds confidence. I've learned that even small updates can reassure investors and shareholders.
Absolutely. Good business relationships don't just happen. They require effort, communication, and trust.
Couldn't agree more. Let's make sure we stay in touch too. We might have a chance to collaborate in the future.
Sounds like a plan. Let's exchange ideas soon and see how we can work together.
Mark, today's cleanup was a huge success. It's amazing what we can accomplish when the whole neighborhood comes together.
I know, right? It's great seeing everyone pitch in. I didn't realize how many people in our community actually care about keeping this park clean.
Yeah, and events like this are a great way to connect with neighbors. I met so many people I've only seen in passing before.
Same here. I even met Mr. Dawson from down the street. He's been living here for 20 years. He told me how the community used to organize monthly get-togethers.
That sounds like a great idea. It would help neighbors get to know each other better. A strong community makes life so much better.
Definitely. I also think volunteering like this helps people feel more connected. When we work together, we build a sense of responsibility for our neighborhood.
Exactly. And it's not just about cleaning up. Being involved in local clubs or groups also makes a big difference. Do you remember Mia? She started that weekend reading club for kids at the library.
Oh yeah, I heard it's really popular. It's great seeing people use their skills to help others. I've been thinking about joining the local gardening club. They plant flowers around the neighborhood and help maintain the community garden.
That's awesome. I think clubs like that bring people closer. When you work on something together, it's easier to form friendships.
Totally. Plus, you learn new skills. I wouldn't mind improving my gardening skills while giving back to the community.
You should definitely go for it. And speaking of giving back, I was thinking of organizing a donation drive for the local shelter. Would you be interested in helping out?
Of course. That's a great idea. A little effort from us can make a big difference for people in need.
That's what community is all about, helping each other and making our neighborhood a better place.
Couldn't agree more. Let's keep the momentum going and get more people involved.
Jake, do you ever think about how many people we interact with online compared to in real life?
All the time. I have so many social media connections, but only a handful of them are people I talk to regularly. Most are just virtual acquaintances, people I follow but don't really know.
Same here. There are people I've been connected with for years, but we've barely had a real conversation. We like each other's posts now and then, but that's about it.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's interesting how social media allows us to stay in touch with so many people without actually talking to them. But then there are online friends, people you really connect with, even if you've never met in person.
Exactly. I have an online friend I met through a book club. We started chatting about our favorite authors, and now we message each other all the time. It's crazy to think we've never met, but I feel like I know them well.
That's awesome. I have an online friend too. We met in a gaming group, and we've been playing together for years. It's funny because we've never met in real life, but we probably talk more than I do with some of my real-life friends.
It's kind of cool how online friendships can be just as strong as in-person ones, but I guess it depends on how much effort both people put into it.
True. Some connections fade because there's no real interaction. That's why I see a difference between social media connections and actual online friends.
Yeah, and I think that's okay. Not every connection has to be deep. Some are just there for casual interactions, and that's still valuable in its own way.
Agreed. But I think it's important to be careful too. Just because someone seems nice online doesn't mean they are who they say they are.
That's a really good point. I always make sure to be cautious before sharing personal details. Have you ever met any of your online friends in real life?
Not yet, but I'd be open to it if I felt it was safe. It would be cool to meet someone you've known for years but have only interacted with online.
Definitely. I think online relationships are great as long as they're built on trust and respect. Whether it's a casual social media connection, a virtual acquaintance, or a real online friend, they all play a role in our digital lives.
Couldn't agree more. The internet really has changed the way we make and maintain friendships.
Professor Carter, do you have a moment? I wanted to ask for some feedback on my latest essay.
Of course, Anna. I'm glad you're taking the time to review your work. What specifically do you want to improve?
Well, I feel like my arguments are strong, but my writing doesn't always flow smoothly. Sometimes I struggle with structuring my ideas clearly.
That's a common challenge for many students. One thing that can help is outlining your main points before you start writing. Have you tried that?
I usually jot down a few ideas, but I don't always organize them properly. Maybe I should spend more time on planning.
That would definitely help. Also, using transition words can make your writing smoother. I can recommend some resources if you'd like.
That would be great. I really want to improve. I appreciate how approachable you are. It makes it easier to ask for help.
I'm always happy to help. A good student-teacher relationship is built on communication. If you ever feel stuck, don't hesitate to ask questions.
Thanks, Professor. I'll go through my essay again and try using more transitions. Would it be okay if I emailed you a revised version for feedback?
Absolutely! I'll review it and give you some pointers. Also, if you ever need extra support, there's a writing tutor available at the Learning Center.
That's good to know. I'll check it out. I really appreciate your guidance.
You're very welcome. Keep practicing and I'm sure you'll see improvement. See you in class next week.
See you then. Thanks again.
It's nice to see so many families spending time together. It reminds me of when I was a kid. My dad used to take me to the park every weekend.
That's such a great memory. My mom and I used to go on weekend hikes together. She always said it was our special bonding time.
That's really nice. I think parent-child relationships change a lot as we grow up. I used to be really close to my mom when I was little, but now that I'm older, we don't talk as much as we used to.
I know what you mean. When I was a teenager, I argued with my dad all the time. But now, I appreciate everything he did for me.
Yeah, as kids, we don't always realize how much our parents do for us. Do you still live with your parents?
No, I moved out last year, but I visit my mom often. She always says, no matter how old you are, you'll always be my little girl.
That's sweet. My dad says something similar. He tells me, being a parent never stops, even when your kids grow up and less.
That's so true. What about your family? Do you have any siblings?
I have a younger sister, but we were raised by our adoptive parents. They took us in when we were really young, and I'm so grateful for them.
That's amazing. Adoptive parents are just as loving and supportive as biological parents. It's all about love and care.
Exactly. My parents never treated us any differently. They always made sure we felt like a real part of the family.
That's beautiful. My cousin was adopted as well, and she's really close to her adoptive parents.
It's all about building strong relationships. Family isn't just about blood, it's about love and support.
I completely agree. Oh, speaking of family, my stepbrother just had a baby. My stepmom is overjoyed to be a grandmother now.
That's exciting. Blended families are becoming more common, and it's great when everyone gets along.
Yeah, it took time for everyone to adjust, but now we're one big happy family.
That's what matters the most. Parents, whether biological, adoptive, or step-parents, all play such an important role in our lives.
Absolutely. I think as we get older, we realize how much they do for us.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Hey, speaking of parents, I should call my mom later. It's been a while since we had a proper chat.
That's a great idea. I think I'll call my dad too.
Family first.
Always.
Lately, I've been thinking a lot about my relationship with myself. I spend so much time focusing on work and others that I sometimes forget to check in with myself.
I know what you mean. It's easy to get caught up in responsibilities and forget about self-care. How have you been feeling?
Honestly, a little overwhelmed. I feel like I push myself too hard, and when I make mistakes, I tend to be really self-critical.
That's completely normal. A lot of people struggle with self-criticism. Have you tried practicing self-compassion?
I try, but it's difficult. Sometimes I feel like I don't deserve to be kind to myself.
I get that. But think about it this way. If a friend came to you feeling the same way, would you be harsh on them, or would you encourage them?
Of course, I'd encourage them. I'd remind them that mistakes are part of learning.
Exactly. So why not treat yourself the same way? Building a good self-relationship means learning to support yourself instead of bringing yourself down.
That's a great point. I guess I need to reframe how I talk to myself. Instead of saying, I failed, I should say, I'm learning and improving.
That's a huge step. Another thing that helps is spending quality time with yourself, whether it's journaling, meditating, or just doing something you love.
I've been wanting to try journaling. I think writing down my thoughts could help me understand myself better.
Absolutely. It helps you process emotions and recognize patterns in your thinking. Plus, it's a great way to track personal growth.
I love that idea. I also want to set healthier boundaries. I tend to say yes to everything, even when I'm exhausted.
Setting boundaries is key to self-respect. Saying no doesn't mean you're selfish. It means you value your time and energy.
That's a mindset shift I need to work on. Thanks for this talk, Jordan. I feel like I have a clearer idea of how to improve my relationship with myself.
Anytime. Remember, self-growth is a journey, not a destination. Be patient with yourself and keep making progress one step at a time.
I will. I'm going to start by journaling tonight. Thanks again.
Sounds like a great plan. Keep taking care of yourself.
Sophia, I'm babysitting my neighbor's toddler for the first time tomorrow, and I'm a little nervous. I've been around kids before, but I've never taken care of one on my own.
That's exciting. Babysitting can be a lot of fun, but it's good to be prepared. How old is the child?
She's 2 years old. I know toddlers can be unpredictable, so I want to make sure I know what to do, especially with things like feeding and nap time.
That's great. Let's go over some basics. First, feeding. Did the parents give you any instructions?
Yes, they said she eats dinner around 6 p.m. and they'll leave food ready for me to serve. What if she refuses to eat?
That happens sometimes. Try to make mealtime fun by talking to her or playing a little game. If she's really not interested, don't force her, but let the parents know when they come back.
Got it. What about diaper changing? I've never done it before.
It's not as scary as it sounds. Make sure you have everything ready before you start. Wipes, a fresh diaper, and diaper cream if needed. Always keep one hand on the baby to prevent them from rolling over, and work quickly but gently.
Okay, I'll practice with a doll first to get the hang of it. What about nap time? She usually naps in the afternoon, but what if she doesn't want to sleep?
That's normal. Try keeping the routine the same as the parents do. Maybe read a book, dim the lights, and speak softly. If she's still fighting sleep, just let her relax quietly for a bit.
That makes sense. And for bedtime, how do I get her to settle down?
Stick to her bedtime routine as much as possible. If she takes a bath before bed, make it calm and relaxing. After that, put her in pajamas, read a bedtime story, and turn off the lights. A soft nightlight or lullaby might help if she's feeling restless.
Speaking of stories, do kids always like the same books, or should I bring some new ones?
Toddlers love repetition, so they might want to hear the same story every night. But bringing a new book could be fun too. If she's interested, let her pick one.
What about playtime? I want to keep her entertained, but also safe.
Great question. Always choose age-appropriate activities. Building blocks, coloring, or simple puzzles are great. And always keep an eye on her, especially if she's playing with small toys.
And for dressing, should I let her pick her own clothes or just choose something for her?
Letting her choose can be fun, but if she takes too long or picks something unsuitable, you can offer 2 options and let her decide.
That's a smart idea. Oh, and what if bath time is part of the routine?
Bath time should always be safe and supervised. Make sure the water is warm but not too hot, and never leave her alone in the tub. Bath toys can make it fun, but keep it short and gentle so she doesn't get fussy.
This is all really helpful. I feel much more prepared now.
You've got this. Babysitting is all about patience and having fun while keeping the child safe. If you ever need help, just call me.
Thanks, Sophia. I'll let you know how it goes.
Mia, I have to say, being a new mom is amazing, but also really exhausting. I had no idea childcare would be this challenging.
I can imagine. Taking care of a baby is a full-time job. Are you getting any help?
Yeah, my parents help sometimes, but my husband and I are considering daycare a few days a week. I just don't know where to start.
That makes sense. Choosing the right childcare option is a big decision. Are you looking for a daycare center or a nanny?
We're leaning toward a daycare center because we want our son to socialize with other kids, but I'm worried about separation anxiety.
That's completely normal. Most kids take a little time to adjust, but a good daycare will help with that transition. Have you visited any places yet?
Not yet. I'm not sure what I should be looking for. Any advice?
Definitely. First, check if the daycare is licensed and has good reviews. Also, pay attention to the environment. Does it feel safe and welcoming? And of course, observe how the caregivers interact with the children.
That's really helpful. What about routines? Should I be worried if their schedule is different from what we do at home?
Not necessarily. Daycares usually follow a structured routine, which can actually help kids feel more secure. But it's a good idea to ask about their daily schedule and see if it aligns with what works for your family.
That makes sense. I also heard that illnesses spread easily in daycare. Is that something I should be concerned about?
It's true that kids tend to get sick more often in group settings, but it helps strengthen their immune system in the long run. Just make sure the daycare has proper hygiene practices, like regular hand washing and sanitizing toys.
Good to know. One more thing. What's the best way to prepare my son for daycare?
Start with short visits before his official first day. Talk to him about daycare in a positive way, and maybe even practice short separations so he gets used to being away from you for a little while.
That's a great idea. I think I'll start looking at daycare centers this week.
Sounds like a plan. And remember, it's okay to take your time finding the right place. You'll know when you find the right fit for your family.
Thanks, Mia. I feel a lot better about this now.
Anytime. Parenting is a journey, and you're doing great.
So, Jake, how's your dating life going?
Well, it's been interesting. I've gone on a few dates recently, but I feel like dating is so different now with apps and social media.
I get that. It's not just about meeting someone in person anymore. You have to figure out if you vibe with them online first. How have your dates been?
Some were great, but others felt awkward. It's hard to know what to expect when you meet someone for the first time.
Yeah, first dates can be tricky. Are you more into casual dating, or are you looking for something serious?
Honestly, I'm open to both, but I do want something meaningful. It just takes time to find the right person. What about you?
Same here. I think communication is really important, though. Some people just don't express what they want, and that can be confusing.
Exactly. I've had dates where we had great conversations, but later I realized we weren't on the same page about what we wanted.
That's why I think being upfront is key. It saves time and avoids misunderstandings.
Agreed. Also, I've noticed that chemistry is a big factor. Sometimes someone seems perfect on paper, but when you meet in person, something feels off.
So true. That's why I prefer meeting for coffee first instead of a long dinner. It's more relaxed, and if the connection isn't there, it's easier to wrap things up.
That's a smart move. I might start doing that too. Also, I've been learning that taking things slow helps. Rushing into something never works out well.
Exactly. Building a strong connection takes time. And I think being yourself is the most important part.
Couldn't agree more. The right person will appreciate you for who you are.
Exactly. So when's your next date?
This weekend, we're just grabbing coffee and seeing how it goes. No pressure.
Sounds perfect. Just enjoy the conversation and have fun.
Thanks, I will. And if it's awkward, at least I'll have a funny story to tell later.
That's the spirit. Dating is all about experiences, so just go with the flow.
Mark, you've been using dating apps for a while now, right? How's that going?
Yeah, I've been trying it out for a few months. It's been interesting, but also a bit overwhelming. There are so many profiles to go through.
I know what you mean. Swiping through profiles can feel like a full-time job. Have you had any good matches?
A few. I've chatted with some interesting people, and I even went on a couple of dates. But sometimes it's hard to tell if someone is really serious or just looking for something casual.
That's true. Some people just like chatting but never actually want to meet in person. It can be frustrating when you're looking for something real.
Exactly. I've started paying more attention to profiles and bios. If someone doesn't put in any effort, it's usually a sign they're not that serious.
Good point. I also look for people who write something thoughtful in their bios. A funny or interesting bio makes them stand out.
Yeah, and messaging is a whole different challenge. Some people don't reply at all, while others only send one-word answers.
That's the worst. Conversations should feel natural, not like pulling teeth. Do you have any go-to opening lines?
I usually try to comment on something from their profile instead of just saying hey. It makes it easier to start a real conversation.
Smart. I think people appreciate effort. Also, meeting in person is another big step. How do you decide when it's the right time?
I usually chat for a few days and then suggest something casual like coffee. If someone keeps avoiding meeting up, I take it as a red flag.
That's a good approach. I like to video call first, just to get a sense of the person before meeting in real life.
That's a great idea. It probably makes the first meeting feel less awkward.
Yeah, it helps. At the end of the day, dating apps are just a tool. They make meeting people easier, but building a real connection still takes effort.
Exactly. I think the key is to have fun with it and not take things too seriously.
Agreed! Who knows? The right match could be just one swipe away.
I still can't believe it's over. We were together for 3 years and now it's just done.
I know, Emily. Breakups are really tough, especially when you've been with someone for so long. How are you feeling?
Honestly, confused, hurt, and a little lost. 1 minute, I feel like I'm fine, and the next, I just want to call him and talk.
That's totally normal. It takes time to process everything. You were so used to having him in your life. It's a big adjustment.
Yeah, it's like I suddenly have all this free time, but I don't know what to do with myself.
That makes sense. It's a big change. But maybe this is a chance to focus on yourself. Do things you enjoy, pick up a new hobby, or reconnect with friends.
I guess so. I just keep thinking about what went wrong. Was it something I did?
Emily, don't blame yourself. Relationships end for many reasons, and it's rarely just one person's fault. Sometimes people just grow apart.
I know, but it still hurts. I miss the good times, even though I know we weren't happy in the end.
That's completely understandable. Just because something ends doesn't mean it was all bad. You had great moments together, and those memories will always be a part of your life.
That's true. I just don't know how to move on.
One step at a time. Focus on healing. Give yourself space to feel your emotions and don't rush the process. And remember, you're not alone. I'm always here if you need to talk.
Thanks, Jake. That really means a lot. I know I'll be okay eventually. It's just hard right now.
Of course. Healing takes time, but you'll come out stronger in the end. And who knows? This might be the start of something even better for you.
I hope so. For now, I'll just take it one day at a time.
That's the best way to do it. And in the meantime, let's grab some ice cream. It won't fix everything, but it's a good start.
You know what? That actually sounds perfect. Let's go.
Lisa, you seem a little distracted. Is everything okay?
Not really. Tom and I have been arguing a lot lately, and I don't know what to do.
I'm sorry to hear that. What's been going on?
It's a mix of things. We've been having a lot of miscommunication lately. He says I don't listen, and I feel like he just assumes things without asking me.
That sounds frustrating. Have you both tried sitting down and really talking it out?
We have, but it usually turns into another argument. It's like we're speaking different languages.
That's tough. Maybe instead of reacting in the moment, you could take a break and come back to the conversation when you're both calmer?
That's a good idea. I'll try that next time. But honestly, it's not just communication. Jealousy has also been an issue. He gets upset when I hang out with my guy friends, even though I've never given him a reason to doubt me.
That's tricky. Trust is so important in a relationship. Have you asked him why he feels that way?
Yeah, but he just says, I trust you. But I don't trust other guys. I don't think that's fair.
I get it. He might be feeling insecure, but you shouldn't have to prove your loyalty all the time. Maybe reassuring him while setting boundaries could help.
I'll try. And then there's another issue. Long-distance struggles. He recently got a job in another city, so we only see each other on weekends now. It's been hard to stay connected.
That must be really tough. Have you found ways to keep the connection strong?
We text a lot, but sometimes it feels like we're just going through the motions. We used to be so close, and now I feel like we're drifting apart.
Maybe planning virtual dates or setting a specific time to call each other every day could help.
That's a good idea. I guess I've been focusing so much on the problems that I haven't thought about solutions.
Relationships go through ups and downs, Lisa. The important thing is that you both still care and are willing to work on things.
You're right, but honestly, part of me wonders if this is really working. We've been trying so hard, but I don't know if we're truly happy anymore.
That's a big question to ask yourself. Do you feel like the relationship is bringing you more happiness or more stress?
Lately, it's been more stress. And I can't help but think about my sister. She just finalized her divorce last month. She told me she wished she had faced the truth sooner instead of forcing something that wasn't working.
Divorce is a huge decision, and I'm sure it wasn't easy for her. But every relationship is different. The key is to ask yourself if you still see a future with Tom or if you're staying out of habit or fear of change.
That's what I need to figure out. I don't want to rush into anything, but I also don't want to keep forcing something that might not be right.
Take your time. Talk to Tom openly about how you're feeling. Whether you work through it or decide to part ways, what matters is that you're honest with yourself.
You're right. I need to have that conversation with him.
And no matter what happens, you're not alone. I'm here for you.
That means a lot, Rachel. Thank you.
Anytime. And no matter what happens, you deserve to be happy.
I really hope I find clarity soon. But first, let's get some dessert. I think I need some chocolate for this conversation.
Absolutely. Chocolate makes everything better. Let's go.
Ah, look at that golden retriever. I've always wanted a dog.
Yeah, they're such friendly dogs. Do you have any pets?
Not right now, but I used to have a cat when I was younger. His name was Whiskers, and he was super independent but also really cuddly. What about you?
I have a Labrador named Max. He's full of energy and always wants to play. Taking care of a dog is a big responsibility, but I love having him around.
Yeah, I've heard that dogs need a lot of attention. Do you have to walk him every day?
Yep, at least twice a day. He has so much energy that if I don't take him for a walk, he gets restless. Plus, it's a great way for me to get exercise too.
That's true. Dogs really help people stay active. But what about things like vet visits and grooming? It must take a lot of effort.
It does, but it's worth it. I take Max to the vet for checkups every few months, and I groom him at home. I brush his fur regularly and give him a bath when he gets too dirty.
That sounds like a lot of work, but I bet he's worth it. Have you ever thought about getting another pet?
Actually, I have. I've been considering getting a cat, but I'm not sure how Max would react. Some dogs get along well with cats, but others don't.
Yeah, introducing a new pet can be tricky. I think it depends on their personalities.
Exactly. I'd have to introduce them slowly and make sure Max doesn't see the cat as a toy. Have you ever thought about getting another pet?
I'd love to, but my apartment doesn't allow pets. If I could, I'd probably adopt a rescue cat or maybe a small dog.
That's a great idea. There are so many animals in shelters looking for homes. Adopting is a good way to give a pet a second chance.
Yeah, and I think having a pet is great for emotional support too. They're always there when you need them.
Absolutely. Max always knows when I've had a bad day. He'll sit next to me and just be there. Pets are really comforting.
That's so sweet. I really hope I can get a pet someday.
I'm sure you will. And when you do, you'll wonder how you ever lived without one.
That's it for today's lesson. We covered key phrases and practical tips to help you talk about relationships in English, whether it's family relationships, friendships, dating, workplace connections, or even self-relationships. These conversations are essential for building strong connections and expressing yourself naturally in different social situations. The best way to improve is by practicing. Try using these phrases when talking with friends, colleagues, or loved ones. Whether you're discussing family, making new friends, or navigating workplace relationships, using the right words will help you communicate with confidence. And don't forget, we've uploaded more videos on related topics, so be sure to check them out on our channel and website. Okay, thanks for watching today's lesson on English Fab. I hope you found these English tips useful and feel more confident. Remember, practice makes perfect, so try using these phrases in your daily conversations. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and subscribe for more Fab English lessons. Until next time, keep practicing and stay fab.